Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Badoeneesa. I'm the online distribution lead for Marriott Hotels in Africa. Today's discussions will go around the crucial performance of revenue departments. But before I get started, I'd like to hand over to our exclusive panelists to provide a short overview on themselves. So I'll hand over to Nathan.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm thrilled to be a part of this panel discussion. My name is Nathan Sharma. I'm the Senior Manager and the Head of Sales for Cvent Hospitality Cloud. We are an online aggregator for MICE RFPs, and with the acquisition of Lanyon, of course, business transient is another contribution that we make to, significantly we make to the hotels. Been with Cvent for more than a decade now, slightly over a decade, and prior to that, I was with hotels myself and ended up marrying a hotelier. So that's my small little family.
Thank you, Nathan. Thank you for that. Over to Krista.
Hi, good afternoon and good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for being part of the event. I'm looking forward to the discussion. My name is Krista North. I'm Director of Sales and Marketing for the Saxon Hotel in Johannesburg, which is a beautiful, small, independent hotel, 53 suites all in total, and it's located in a lovely suburb. And really, it's an iconic South African hotel, and we have a wonderful South African heritage to the hotel, and have been in existence for 20 years. We're actually celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. That is me.
Thank you, Krista. That's wonderful. And last but not least, I'm handing over to Ram.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. Hope you're all doing well, staying safe. Interesting times that we all are living in. My name is Ram, and I'm the Vice President for Revenue Management Distribution for Preferred Hotels and Resorts. We are the world's largest independent hotel brand company and represent over 750-odd hotels, resorts, and hotel groups across 85-odd countries. It's a pleasure to be on this exciting panel and look forward to having some interesting conversations and take back some great learnings along with me.
Thank you, Ram, for that overview. So right after our panels has given us a brief overview of themselves, now we're going to head into the Q&A. So I'm going to start with Nathan. The first one being, Nathan, how do you anticipate the planner and attendee experience evolving in 2021 with regards to higher duty of care standards and safe meetings?
This is a fairly interesting question because this is a question which is going to be prevalent in the minds of meeting planners, hotels, everyone. Like, this is one major question everyone is thinking about. How is the planner and attendee experience going to change, if at all it is going to change in 2021 and beyond, especially with regards to safe meetings and whatnot. So here are my 2 cents. A few things. When the in-person events return, it will definitely be a changed landscape. It will be a changed world, both for the attendees and for the guests. And for the venues, they're going to play a pivotal role into this. In fact, if you think about it, over 51% of the planners, they said that venues will be more important to the success of the in-person events in 2021 than in 2019. In 21 over 2019. So the most obvious change, if you think about it, of course, it's going to be around the safety guidelines, which means event durations might increase. And talking from a MICE perspective, there would certainly be an increased planning that would need to go into executing an in-person or even a hybrid event for that matter. So though the level of preparations and measures might differ based on geographies, based on different government regulations, from a planner perspective, if you think about it, what it means from a planner perspective, this would mean a longer planning timeline. We could potentially see a longer booking window. In fact, even our own internal data, if you look at Cvent supply and network data, it's reflecting much higher booking windows than the pre-COVID levels. So it's vital to note that most planners they've had to move to virtual events for at least few of the events this year, which in return has made them a lot more tech savvy, if I may say. And that is going to bound to reflect in the need to get the tools to help them to plan from a distance. So in fact, one of our recent planner surveys, it said that 63% of the planners, they said that they expect venues to provide for a virtual site visit, digital layout tools and stuff like that in 21. This is as per the Event Planner Sourcing Report, Middle East and Africa 2020. So 52% of our planners, as per the planner survey, they said they expect venues to provide for data streaming capabilities and all that kind of stuff. And even from an attendee standpoint, if you think about it, there will be safety protocols before entering the event and longer check-ins and tools like in technology for contactless check-ins, and all that kind of stuff is going to help alleviate all of this. So repurposing event spaces, a meeting room, if you think about it, which is currently for 200 packs, may now only be able to fit 40, 50 people, depending on the regulations and, social distancing aspect and everything. So again, altering, it is going to alter the experience for the attendees, who are used to networking and sitting next to each other. So diagramming tools are going to essentially become more crucial, I would say, to create a safe meeting layout and highlighting all those internal venues that you may have. In terms of, I believe in terms of rooming, once the groups return, the attendee experience would continue to an in-house accommodation as well with room block management tools. Hotels will be able to send all of their safety guidelines and measures in advance to attendees to basically instill the confidence that yes, as a hotel, I can host a safe meeting. Of course, no one truly knows what the future holds, but planners and attendees' experience are definitely going to change, with venues being a key stakeholder in this, and with a greater reliance on technology. That's what I feel.
Thank you, Nathan. That is a very in-depth overview. Thank you so much for that. Going on to our second question, Nathan, how do you view technology and automation investment in the industry changing in 2021, especially with changing planner expectations and the need for greater efficiency?
Yeah. We weren't born with a silver spoon in the mouth. We were born with a smartphone in our hands. That's technology. So if you think about it, in the last 10 months, digital roadmaps for organizations globally have accelerated by more than 5 times. Within the hospitality industry as well, there's bound to be a digital acceleration, a different level space in different markets and everything, of course. But this is not going to be only to increase the efficiency with the reduced manpower, but also to be able to enable safer spaces with, as I mentioned, contactless, experiences, all that kind of stuff. So with the purview of sales, marketing, operations, scope of automation, planners are now getting used to planning from a distance, as I mentioned previously. So the entire pre-event planning has now sort of moved digitally, has moved online. So online sourcing tools and if you join them with some virtual site inspections and booking the event without having to visit the venue in person, and then with our planning communities interacting with them, technology has been a common theme this year. There's something at least I've learned across all the different forums, all the different webinars and panels that I've been a part of. And even in our recent survey, if you think about it, to over 110 planner organizations, and I'm speaking 110 planner organizations across Middle East and Africa only, nearly 75% of the planners in this region have reported an increased reliance on technology in 2020. So technology, of course, is going to be a driver, and it's important to not look at automation just as an expense, but as a driver of revenue, I would say. So increased efficiencies, revenue opportunities, room block management software, as I mentioned earlier, for hotels with upsell opportunities. Automation is the new normal. And in addition to traditional preferences for meeting space, venue location, pricing, etc., a venue's readiness, I believe, venue's tech readiness, rather say, and the duty of care would play a huge role for the planners while they're in the buying mode, while they're in the sourcing mode. So this definitely presents an opportunity for venues to be able to cast a wider net for 2021 and beyond, I would say, with the right set of tools to be able to generate more demand, sell spaces much better, and execute those events. So right from, if you think about it, right from when you sourcing, creating visibility on sourcing platform, advertising your safe meeting capabilities to instill planner confidence, all of this has gone digital, and it's going to be of paramount importance. And with tech playing such an important role now, a lot of these technologies would soon become a must to have rather than a good to have. Same thing that happened with mobile phones. At one point, if you remember, they were good to have an item of luxury. Now they've become an item of necessity. That's my take on that.
Perfect. Thank you, Nathan, for that. I think based on our current status being in the pandemic, there's so much innovation that takes place as well. And it's very beneficial to the various segments, be it in the digital or hospitality segments. I'm going to hand over to Ram. Ram, question 1, how do you view the adaptation in the corporate environment, example, the hotel chain brands, in the online and digital segments? And what digital and online platforms would you can support revenue optimization?
Thank you so much. And Nathan, thanks a lot for your insights out there on events and how they are trending online. I think hybrid is definitely the way forward in the immediate future. And I'm hoping that it's just a short term and not a long term future out there. But a very valid question with regards to the digital platforms and the adoption of digital platform by hotel chains out there. One thing that's happened globally at this point of time is the online and e-commerce consumption has actually grown exponentially during this lockdown phase. You know, almost every industry, be it education, be it entertainment, be it shopping, everything is now online, and people are moving more and more into the online space. So it is it's no longer a question of are you online or when will you be online. It is you better be online, otherwise we are losing out on everything out there. And the second thing too, while this was already happening globally, I think the lines between e-marketing, sales, revenue management, etc., I think they have completely blurred. I mean, all of them have kind of started to overlap each other. Those silos that we used to operate in, I think they have all started to bridge because reputation management has become so important today. You know, when someone is choosing a hotel, reputation management is one of the key important thing out there. When someone is searching for a hotel, you better be present right on the first screen of Google. So, you know, e-marketing, online reputation management. Now, if those two aren't in place, you could have the best revenue / pricing strategy in place, but you know what? You wouldn't get the online conversions. So it's very important that these teams start to talk to each other. What's also very important is, especially when we start adopting into the digital space, it's a new era, it's a new normal. So whatever was working in pre-COVID era for the hotel is no longer working because it is a complete new set of target audience. A simple example, as a leisure hotel, maybe you prided yourself in the fact that, you know what, come stay with us to disconnect, you know. But today when you're talking about drivecation and workation, internet connection becomes of paramount importance at your hotels. So if that is a target segment, then you need to change what you are selling to the guests out there. And it is important that irrespective of whatever channels you choose, you are showcasing these features out there. The question is, every channel is important, but it's important not to spread yourself thin out there. I think you need to be where your consumer is sitting on in terms of digital platforms. Working with the right distribution partners, very important. Working with the right online platforms is also equally important. I think this is the right time, and I'm sure I got people from sales and marketing sitting on this call. I think this is the right time for us to start off with A/B testing so that we can understand what is working and optimize your call to action out there. I'm a big fan of social media and the power that images and videos have at this point of time. And you need to kind of start utilizing the resources out there, which you have from both your team members and other guests out there, to start showcasing your product out there, so that any transformation that is happening with regards to either the physical product or service is actually showcased to the guest. Ultimately, if I have to say that, revenue management is not a one man or a woman department. It is a culture. So every team in the hotel has to be working together in order to start maximizing, and your offline strategies needs to be reflected in your online strategies out there. Ultimately, if you look at digital as a channel, I think you need to be looking more at performance-based models rather than CPC or cost per click models. So when you're particularly talking digital, so I think you need to be looking at a lot of metas are now transitioning into these models. So that is something that's important. Reviewing your content manager to see, hey, how are you selling your hotel right now? Because the needs of the consumer has changed. So are you kind of targeting that in the digital world is pretty important. So I think that kind of takes care of the digital platforms out there. And lastly, I know there's always this comment with revenue managers that, hey, what about OTAs and direct business? I think OTAs are, I use a term called frenemies out there. They are not your enemies. You need to, they have better reach than most of the brands have. I would say than almost all the brands have. The money that Booking.com invests in digital marketing is more than the biggest hotel chain globally, right? So look at them to get you the incremental business, but use your loyalty to get the same guest coming back to you. If the guest is continuously using OTAs out there for repeat business, then there is something wrong. You got to go back and see why is that happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram. That's wonderful. Another question for you, Ram. In your opinion, does forecasting need to be more dynamic based on the current pandemic and the market's behavior? If so, why?
We are definitely, as revenue managers, we used to talk about disruption for the past 5-6 years. It was a favorite word in most panels. Let's talk disruption. And we are in a truly disruptive period now. Okay. But we are in a very chaotic period. And I believe that chaos brings in an opportunity for change in the way that we have been doing business. I think markets are starting to evolve. They are all coming back from lockdowns. Business has started to come in. And like anything in life, business is like life, right? So when something starts to move the first time, it's pretty dynamic. You don't know which direction it will start to move. And it's like a kid, right? You let a kid out there to run, the kid could run in any direction. Whereas if it's an adult, you tell them to walk straight, they're going to walk straight. So that is the same thing right now with business recovery. In some places, lockdowns open, they come back, restrictions change. So, you got to be extremely flexible with what you're looking at until there is a baseline that is formed. What we have observed from our hotels, because like I said, there are 750 odd hotels globally, it's a good for 8 to 10 weeks of stability before there is an actual baseline that gets formed, basis which you can start forecasting. When you're just coming back into the recovery phase or you're in your early days of recovery, what we have actually started seeing is adopting a scenario-based thinking forecast. So ideally speaking, look at maybe at least 3 scenarios for your forecast. I would call it best case, normal case, worst case. So that's 3 scenarios that could happen on any given day, and start forecasting your numbers out there. There is going to be a lot of trial and error, because even the best of the revenue management systems do not have a past history to or a trend line to base their current forecast on, right? I would say a trial and error based forecasting is definitely going to be in practice until there is more stability in demand. One important thing, especially for 2021, as many of us are entering into the budget period, is to kind of adopt a zero-based forecast for both revenue as well as revenue-related expenses. I'm not going to talk about overall cost expenses out here, because It is like opening up a new hotel, but the only difference is there's around about 50 or 100 hotels opening up at the same point of time in your markets, right? So it is important to have like a zero-based budgeting. To reallocate your expenses on the right areas where you need to be allocating it to. If it is the domestic business that's going to be coming in the next 2 months, how do you drive in the domestic business? What are the right areas to spend on out there? So that becomes so your forecasting needs to be at micro market level and not turning around and saying that, hey, I'm going to be doing 40% occupancy, 50% occupancy. No, it's important to understand where is this 50% coming in from so that the right expenses can be allocated accordingly for marketing, for sales team, etc. What is also changing, and this is very important to keep in mind when you're doing forecast, is things like your change in length of stay pattern, because there are lesser number of people staying, but their length of stay is actually increased. People are staying longer. If the average length of stay was 2 nights, because of staycation, they are staying longer. They are booking in closer to the date rather than the longer lead time a lot of us used to have. So these are the things that you need to keep in mind when you're forecasting. You definitely can't use your previous trends when you're forecasting. Another important thing is a lot of us are using flexible booking policies, and the more flexible the policies are, while it will encourage us to gain more demand, and it's of course the most recommended strategy, we also need to remember that there could be higher cancellation percentages due to which. So please keep that in mind while you're forecasting. Lastly, very important is more than historic data, forward-looking data is extremely important. And there are a lot of tools in the market. To name some of them, Demand 360 from TravelClick or Forward Star from STR, etc. Now, they kind of give you some insights as to what is happening in your marketplace. And that kind of helps you understand whether you are trending in the right direction or not. Also using understanding what your competition set is performing and maybe realigning your forecast basis their demand strategy out there. There's definitely a lot of trial and error. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ram. That was great insights. And I think those that are in on the call today would find that so valuable. I'm going to hand over to Krista. Question 1 would be the current COVID pandemic. The domestic market has become the main revenue generator. In your view, how would hotels capture the domestic market with campaigns or promotional offers with marketing techniques, making it more locally relevant for our guests?
Great, thank you. What we've experienced very much is having actually been an international hotel with an international market for such a long time. We've been looking at our domestic market more to see how we could encourage people more for booking and what would be more interesting for them. And we have found really with our domestic market that it's looking at a different type of product. We have traditionally always sold a bed and breakfast rate, and being part from an international point, really come for travelers coming to South Africa, mostly looking at longer itineraries and different stays really as part of the itinerary. Our clients weren't really looking usually at the total picture instead of the individual hotels. So from our point of view, we were usually just selling bed and breakfast rates as part of the itinerary. What we have found now is for our local domestic travel, it's shorter breaks, but it's more regular breaks. And what our South African market really is looking for is more total package, staying at the one hotel. So not to go out and see a lot of things, but enjoying the time of being in a beautiful property and being looked after by the team at the hotel. So therefore, we've been working on more packages that including facilities at the hotel, including spa treatments, including afternoon teas and dinners, and those have been promoted a lot more. What we also have actually as a safari lodge, we have a private game reserve about 2.5 hours away from Johannesburg. There we have found that we are seeing a lot more family inquiries and family bookings. And so these different kind of packages for families also have been really important, where you do something additional for the children or do a discount on a second room, but build it in a package. So we have seen a lot of different type of offerings that we have worked on and that we've been promoting. And then the way to promote it has been really through the traditional channels also, and really talking to the local travel agents and the local tour operators, but also making sure that all these packages are available to be bookable on your own website, our OTA channels, etc., just to make sure that they are available everywhere. And then we have developed our social media advertising, increased that again since the last probably about 2 months. Of course, when it was lockdown, and our lockdown started in South Africa in March, we stopped that part of the business, but we've started again with our social media advertising, just really targeting our domestic market and in our domestic areas where we know our potential guests are based. So that we have seen as becoming quite successful, especially for the Safari Lodge. I do think, though, what you see in our domestic market is that the city hotels are a little bit slower in picking up bookings, mostly because I think anyone has been in lockdown at home in a city, all they would like to do is go outside of the city and either go on safari to the bush or go to the coast and go to a lot more of the hotels that were discussed earlier already, where you can actually do a little bit social distancing easier and where it isn't that busy. So we are seeing more pickup in our Safari Lodge. And I think, it's just important to have all the special offers available everywhere through all the channels to make sure that you really have all your bases covered if you'd like to increase your, to make sure that you have your revenue bases covered. I also think it's important, especially from a city hotel point of view. We could be very busy with just having spa treatments because the Saxon Spa is really well known. We could have full restaurants at the moment. But by packaging up these special facilities with accommodation, we have a better chance of actually selling our accommodation as well, which I think is equally important. And of course, from a revenue point of view, a little bit higher level on making that revenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Krista. Move on to the next questions. Dominique, firstly, welcome to the exclusive panelists today. Before we get started, would you like to give a brief overview about yourself?
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Sorry for being delayed, but sometimes technology, shows you surprises. I'm Dominique Dmytryszyn. I am the general manager of the Hilton Al Wara in Morocco, in Tanger, and opened this beautiful resort a year and a half ago, actually in June last year. But before that, I've been traveling around the world with Hilton. I was in Mauritius, I was in Melbourne in Australia, I was in London, Paris, Strasbourg, Cannes, and several cities around the world. And now in Tanger in Morocco. Fantastic destination as well, new, but great. And that's about it for myself.
Thank you, Dominique. Dominique, in your view, would you say OTAs, example, Booking.com, Expedia, or Goda, are taking share from the various hotel chain brand websites, and why would you?
Yeah. Actually, before going on that subject, I would say that sustainability field say go green. Health food consultant says go bio. Hospitality should say go digital. The corona pandemic has taught us that digital and virtual is really the way of going forward. And I think we've learned a lot from that in the last almost year. Yeah. Now going on to your point of OTA, Booking.com and Expedia. I mean, they are very important for the industry, for hotels and for the chains, that's for sure. And actually, because everybody today who wants to go through a booking for an hotel, wherever the hotel is around the world, they are mainly going through these OTAs. These OTAs, which is, either Booking.com or Expedia, they are taking a fair share, from hotels, from chains, that's for sure. But then it's to cover the operating system, it's to cover their services. Now it's maybe we should do differently, and reduce a little bit and make a fair share between, the 50-50 with the potential clients and then the hotelier as well, so that not all the cost is covered by the hotelier. Now the OTA would say to you that yes, but you can make more business because everyone go through OTAs, and it's up to you. If you want more click, you can be on top of the page, and they can see your brand, they can see your hotel, and you can get much more business, But again, sometimes the share is expensive, even if you get the business, because everybody is going through that. I would say probably that, and the question I would add to the initial question would be, can we hotels, can we us brands, of different chains live without OTAs, And I would say yes, we could, but only if clients would be more ready to search by themselves destination and go straight or direct forward to hotels instead of going through OTA. The reflex of everybody, it's to go through Expedia, for example, because you can make your own package, and that's it. You've got your room booked, your hotel, your entertainment, your car rental, everything, your flight, everything can be done, just by the OTA. As if you have to go through the hotel, you have to do everything, and that's a little bit of a lazy, side of the human being, So let's get somebody to do it, and get it done all at once, So. Yes, we could do without the OTA, but on the other side today, I don't think we are ready to drop them, So, yeah, it's acceptable that they charge us, but maybe not as much as what they do today. Yeah, it's a win-win situation, and it's a fight. It's a permanent fight or argument, not fight, the argument that we have with, respectable argument that we have with, Expedia or Booking.com. That's what I think.
Perfect. Thank you, Dominique. If we look at the second one, in our fast-paced digital world today, we see the age groups from the younger generation, for example, 3-year-olds starting to navigate a tablet or mobile device. This means online or digital is moving really fast, and it will be moving even faster in the upcoming years. We also see that, with the likes of companies such as Netflix investing in a lot of artificial intelligence, whereby you have an account, and basically when there are new features or movies or series, that is your preference, it will showcase on your profile. So do you think with this concept, hotel chain brands should start to invest more in these techniques? If so, why?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you see today when you go out, and you see family with kids, in different places, bars, restaurants or hotels, and very, very often, probably 4 out of 5, you see the kids, even 2, 3, or 4 years old, already they have a tablet, they have their iPhone, or they have something, to play on, or to go on, to navigate on websites, and it's actually scary. It's actually scary. But again, the parents are, it's a way also to say, we can have a time, we can have relax. But it's scary because children are learning very fast, especially at that age, and they are very sharp as well. And I would say that gives us brands, chains, hotels. We have to be also faster, and we have probably to go ahead, and invest in further digital and technology to be up to date, and to be on top of, the other brand or the other chain, and again, we saw during the pandemic, during COVID, that people could work from home, everyone, because we had no choice, and we quickly adapt to the digital, and that's not it. I'm sure, it will be even more and more developed within the next few months or few years, that chains will have to invest and develop fast their technology to adapt to the request of anyone. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, it's definitely the world will be driven by digital, whatever we do, what sort of whatever type of industry we're on, digital is the answer. Yeah. So I would say, instead of catching the train, we should be ahead of the train, and make sure that we find solution, or we find new system and technology before the others are finding. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's definitely, yeah.
Thank you so much, Dominique, for that insights. Just to conclude, to thank our panelists today. There's so much valuable information shared today, and like each and every one indicating, with digital and online moving really fast, and with the current pandemic that we're facing, adapt change is key. And there's so many innovative things that are happening around us, not only in the digital space, but within all segments, that it's only but crucial that we adapt to it sooner than later, especially if we look at the example with the question for Dominique in terms of our centennial base using tablets at the age of 3 already. And therefore, I think, like everyone mentioned, our hotel and hospitality and chain segments, be it corporate, should be looking at those things as well to evolve even further and adapt in order for us to progress. But thank you so much to each and everyone, and have a wonderful day further.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.